Hey guys, it's Raquel. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a simple BJD tag. So as always, feel free to make a video of your own and use the tag as you like, and tag me in those videos. I would love to see them. So today's tag is going to be, what was your first BJD and why did you choose it? So this is actually like a really heartwarming topic for me because I was one of the many people in the ball jointed doll community who was intimidated by ball jointed dolls at first, mainly because of their price. I didn't have a lot of money. I didn't have a lot of resources in order to be able to get myself a doll, and it was kind of one of the first-ish things I did when I moved out. Was I now have a place of my own, I'm going to buy myself a ball jointed doll, once I had discovered them at Doll North. So I decided that I was going to get a Miro doll. I know that Miro doll is a little controversial in the BJD community, but I chose them because they were inexpensive. Yeah, they have a lot of flaws. Yeah, there's a lot of issues with the company. I did my research at the time, and don't forget that this has been like, years ago, like 5-6 years ago, if not more. However, I weighed the pros and the cons, and for me personally, I needed to see whether or not I was actually interested in BJDs or just interested in the concept of them, and whether or not I would like the customization and all that, because at the time that I purchased my first BJD, I did not like dolls necessarily. What type of dolls I liked was literally only these ones up here, the Star Wars fashion dolls. Those are the only dolls I still had and technically still collected. I didn't like Barbies. I didn't like any other type of dolls. And I had no interest in dolls. So when I went to Anime North and discovered Doll North and discovered Ball Jointed Dolls, I was curious, like many of us are when you first discover the niche. Is like, oh hey, these are BJDs, what are they? They look kind of cool. What, they're customizable? That's so cool. So I was the same way. I looked at the Doll North room. I browsed, and I don't remember the person's name because it's been so long, but one of the vendors was kind enough to stand there and talk to me for like 15-20 minutes about ball jointed dolls and about the cost of them and stuff like that. And they had a ball jointed doll. I think they were selling that they were willing to give away for like $300 or $400. And at the time, obviously, I was just curious, and it was like an SD doll. So one of the big guys over here, and I was intimidated. I was like, wow, that's a lot of money, and wow, that's a really big doll. Granted, I don't exactly remember the company or sculpt, but I believe it's one of the ones that are on the cheaper side of the SD sizes. So, and don't forget inflation and all that type of stuff. So back then, it was expensive, especially for someone who wasn't sure if she'd be interested in the hobby. So for me, I was like, that's a little too expensive. Let me do some research, and that's when I came across Miro doll. Their dolls were really cheap at the time. I can't quite remember how much I ended up spending in both the doll purchase and shipping, but I remember it was nice because the doll is small. As you can see, I've got her right here. My first doll, Lily. She's an MSD size, so she wasn't USD, but she wasn't SD. She was like a nice medium size, as well as she was cheap. And of course, when I got the doll, I noticed this is the sculpt, and I can't remember the sculpt name at the moment. Let me see if I can find that info real quick. This was the Miro doll Yaya. I have my list in my drawer at all times. But the Miradol Yaya has misplaced ears, so one of the ears is lower than the other. And I noticed that right off the bat, and I noticed, that's a quirk of this sculpt that they've never fixed. And, the thing is that I wanted a doll that I could purchase at not too high of a price, that I could just see if I liked it, and if I didn't like the hobby and I didn't like ball jointed dolls as I thought I may, I could just, go turn around and sell it, and that's it. So I went into it completely money conscious, and I ended up falling in love. I know that Miradol, again, as I said before, is still a little controversial and stuff like that, and a lot of people don't like them. I would honestly recommend them for, people who are starting in the hobby that doesn't know whether or not they want, a BJD. And it was a great starter doll. Like, as you can see, here's Lily. Let's see if hopefully it'll focus-ish. I know the light is a little powerful. I think it turned up a little high, but there she is. There's my Lily. And she, is adorable. I did the face up myself. I modeled her kind of after me in terms of like the brown hair, very Canadian, and stuff. And she has her kinks, she's worn out, she's got marks all over her, and her face up's falling apart, and, because I never sealed it properly because I didn't know what I was doing. But I love her. I love her a lot. And she not only kickstarted my love for BJDs, but she also made it so I knew whether or not I was interested in the hobby as a whole. And she was the one who started my journey. So that is why I chose Lily. Look at her. She's so cute. I love her outfit, and her outfit obviously is the logo that is inspired of my channel. But yeah, here's the thing, years later, I am still very happy with my purchase. Yeah, she is a Miradol. Yeah, a lot of people in the industry don't like Miradol, and, they shit on the company. But overall, when I talked to customer service and they informed me everything, they were very polite. They, in the end, I knew what I was getting into for the most part in terms of the company and the cheapness of the company and the quality and everything like that. However, I don't think I'll ever remake Lily with another model or another doll unless it was one that I, made myself. If I was to 3D sculpt and 3D print my own BJD with resin, that's a different story. Then I would probably, reskin her. But I'm really happy with the company and with my first purchase because, it is a first purchase. And some people, I'm one that I'm very attached to Lily. I would never get rid of her unless, as explained, I made my own doll. But, some people will purchase their first doll and either love the hobby but not like the doll and eventually get rid of it and, reskin the doll into it with another sculpt. Or, they get their first doll, they aren't as interested in the hobby as they thought they'd be, and then they go and sell it. And, with how cheap, Miradol dolls are, it makes it easier for resale, right? So at the end of the day, this was my first doll, and that is why I chose it, was mostly because of monetary reasons, because of how expensive ball jointed dolls were, and whether or not I could afford dolls, and whether I didn't want to sink a lot of money into my first doll and then realize I didn't like it. So I would definitely suggest for anyone who is new to the ball jointed doll community, to the hobby, that's interested in getting their first doll but isn't quite sold and is a little afraid of spending a lot of money, especially as Canadians, it's a lot of money. I would suggest looking into companies that are, a little less expensive, that maybe there are a lot of flaws with the company and the doll sculpts and stuff like that, but you're just, dipping your toe in the water and seeing what it's about. Or if you know anybody in the community, or you are able to go to any doll meets or any doll conventions like Doll North, or there was another doll show that I went to last year, and I can't quite remember what it is, but I'll put like a note about it somewhere. Like if you could get get to one of those conventions, or reach out to someone in the community for assistance, or if you know anybody, a secondhand doll may be the way to go for your first BJD, because people in the community will sell them at obviously not the same price as they were, because it's secondhand, and you can get yourself a doll that was previously loved, so maybe it has a couple flaws and stuff like that. You can just test out the waters, right? And I think that is ultimately your best bet, is either find a company that's cheaper, on the cheaper side, and buy a doll that way, or buy a doll secondhand, because at the end of the day, it's your first doll. You don't want to spend too much money on it. You want to see if you like the hobby, and if all goes, to shit, and you're just not interested in the hobby, you're not interested in the dolls after all, and you want to just get out and sell, it makes your life a little easier. So yeah, so this is the tag. What was your first BJD, and why did you choose it? Again, I chose it because of financial situations, and not wanting to spend a bucket load on a doll that I wasn't sure if I was going to keep. And yeah, what was your first ball jointed doll, and why did you choose it? Did you go balls to the walls and grab a really, really expensive first doll, or did you go my route and get one that was on the cheaper side from a cheaper company? Or did you buy one secondhand, or get gifted one secondhand from a friend or family member? I would love to hear your stories down below. Please comment them. And also, if you see any ball jointed doll tags you would like me to make a video about at some point, please, please, please post them in the comments down below, so I can collect it and I can make a video about it at some point. I really appreciate your stories and suggestions, so feel free to comment down below if you've got any ideas. But yeah, that's about it. I've got less than 10 minutes to edit this, so wish me luck, and as always, my friends and family, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye everybody!